Hey guys, welcome to lesson 16. All right, in this one we're talking about three topics: distance, midpoint, and formula, or distance, midpoint, and circles. All right, so an ordered pair consists of two components written inside of parentheses corresponding to a rectangular coordinate system. You have your x, which is your horizontal coordinate. You have your y, which is your vertical coordinate. In 0, 0, if x is 0 and y is 0, that's the origin. Okay, all coordinates are positive in the top right quadrant, so we call it quadrant 1, and then it moves counterclockwise from there. So as you can see, everything's positive here, and then we move in counterclockwise to get the other quadrants. So Q2, Q3, Q4, and so on and so forth. All right, everything's positive here, everything's negative in quadrant 3. You have negative, positive here, and positive, negative here. All right, so depending on what your signs are, the ordered pairs, you can tell which quadrant it's in. So you might have some problems asking, all right, here's a point, what quadrant is it in? All right, now, remember the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared? A squared plus b squared equals c squared? Okay, well, if we know that the distance between P and Q is 12 because you got -4 to 8, and then we know that the distance between Q and R is 3 to -2, so that's going to be 5. I can say what is, we'll call this A, we'll call this B, we'll call this C. The C is always the hypotenuse, the side across from the right angle, which is right here in the corner. All right, so let's say this is 12 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. That's going to be 144 plus 25 c squared. That's going to be 169 equals c squared. And when I take the square root of both sides, it's going to be c is 13. Okay, so c equals 13. Normally, we would consider both the positive and negative versions of the value when we take a square root, but distance is one of those units of measurements, and units of measurements cannot be negative. Okay, the distance formula between the 2 points, x1, y1, or the distance between the 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, can be found with this formula, which comes from the Pythagorean theorem. So if I didn't know the distance between, so like on the picture above, on the picture right here, we have a horizontal line and a vertical line, but not all figures come that way. All right, so if I just have the x coordinates and the y coordinates, then I can use the Pythagorean theorem with the distance, or with the coordinates, and take the square root, and I get the distance formula. Okay, so let's use this distance formula to find the distance between P and Q. Okay, so let's see, D equals, let's see, so we have 3 minus -8 squared plus -2 minus 4 squared. That's going to give me 3 plus 8 is 11, so it's going to be 11 squared, plus that's going to be -6 squared. All right, so that's 121 plus 36, and that's going to be square root of 157. All right, so the distance is going to be the square root of 157 units away. All right, and you want to leave it as the square root because the decimal of a square root that doesn't work, that is not a perfect square, is nasty, and you got to cut it off at some point. And so the square root is the more exact form, and we like exact forms. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2, I'm going to do the same thing. Distance equals, let's see, -13 minus -5 squared plus 1 minus -7 squared, square root. -13 plus 5 is going to be -8 squared, plus 1 plus 7 is 8 squared. All right, so I got 64 plus 64. So it's going to be the square root of 128. All right, so once again, leave it in exact form, and that's your answer. Now, your midpoint formula is a little different. The midpoint of a line segment is the equal distance from the endpoints of the segment, and we use this formula. So you're essentially taking the average of the x's and the average of the y's. Okay, so if I'm looking for the midpoint, I'm just going to use the midpoint formula. And so this is going to be 8 plus negative 6 over 2. And this is going to be negative 4 plus 1 over 2. And that's going to give me 8 minus 6 is 2, so I got 2 over 2. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3 over 2. I'll simplify this, and that's going to give me 1 comma negative 3 halves. So that would be my midpoint. Okay. Now, force is from the coordinates of the other endpoint Q of a segment where one point P and where you have one point P and the midpoint. Okay, so this, we're going to solve it 2 different ways. We're going to use the formula, and we're going to use something else. We'll get the same answer, but you can pick which, when we're done, you can pick which one you prefer to do. And I'll tell you which one I prefer. Okay, so we know that x plus negative 6 over 2 equals 8. We also know that y plus 12 over 2 equals negative 2. So we multiply, that's going to be x minus 6 equals 16, x equals 22, y plus 12 equals negative 4, y equals negative 16. So Q is going to be 22 comma negative 16. That's my answer. Now, if you use the formula, that's how you would do it. You would average the x's and set it to the equal to the x value of the midpoint. You would set up the y's, average them, and set it equal to the y value of the midpoint, and then work it out algebraically. Here's another way I like to look at it. All right, so let's draw a number line. We have P on one side, Q on the other, and M is in the middle. All right, we know that P is 6 or negative 612, and we know that M is 8, negative 2, and we're trying to find what Q is. Okay, well, if we're going, because this is halfway, that means this side and this side are equal. Okay, so how do you go from negative 6 to 8? Well, 6 is on one side of 0 and positive 8 is on the other side of 0. So you got 6 units to get to 0 and then 8 units to get to 8. All right, so together that's 18. Or not, sorry, that's 6 and 8 is 14. So I'm going to add 14 to both sides. So that step, and because these two segments from P to M is equal to M to Q, I'm going to do it again. So what is 8 plus 14? 22. All right. Do the same thing with Y. 12 to negative 2. So 12 is on one side of 0, negative 2 is on the other side of 0. So you got 12 units from 12 to 0, and then 2 more to get to negative 2. So I'm going to subtract 14 because I go from positive to negative. And then if I'm going subtracting 14 to get to M, I'm going to do it again to get to Q. And so negative 2 minus 14 is going to give me negative 16. I prefer the number line because it's really straightforward. It's simple arithmetic instead of algebra. So you can choose, you get the same answer either way. Q is 22 comma negative 16. So you can choose whether you want to do it the full algebra way or if you want to do the number line with simple arithmetic. All right, but that's how you do it. All right, graphing equations. We can find the intercepts. We can do all the things. On 5, it's y equals 4x minus 1. So this is pretty straightforward. I have, let's see, I start at negative 1, and then my slope is 4, so I go up 4. So I got 0, 1, 2, 3, and then I go over 1, So my second point is right there. And then I connect my dots. All right, and that's my graph. Now, x equals y minus 1 under the square root. To graph this, the easiest way is to go ahead and solve that for y. So that would be x equals y minus 1. Square both sides, you get y minus 1. X squared minus x squared plus 1 equals y. Okay? All right, so this is going to be a parabola, but remember this is the square root of y minus 1. So it's only the positive version, which means it's only the right side. Okay, so we draw a parabola. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so normally a graph of a parabola would start at 0, but because it says plus 1, we start at 0, 1, and then 1, 1 would be a point in the parabola, so it'd be like right here, and then 2, 4 would be the next one, so that would be up here, and so it looks something like that. And again, because the original was x equals positive the square root of y minus 1, I only draw the right side of the parabola. Okay, so 7 is a true parabola with x squared minus 4. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and so 0, 0 would be right there. And then I got 1, 1 on either side, and then I got 2, 4 on either side. And so parabola looks something like this. All right. Now, shifting gears to circles. By definition, a circle is the set of all points in a plane that lie in a given distance from a given point. The given distance is the radius, and the given point is the center. All right, so using the diagram to the right, the xy is any point on the circle. HK is your center of a circle. R is your radius, which is the distance between the center and a point on the circle. And then capital A is how you would name a circle. Okay, so using the distance formula, we're going to create the equation of a circle. So if I have the distance is r, the distance from the center to the point on the circle is r, get square root. We have the distance between x and h, so I got x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. All right, so if I square both sides, I get r squared equals x minus h all squared plus y minus k all squared. Okay, so this one is my graphing form of a circle, aka the center radius form. So this works for any circle, whether it's at 0, 0 or not. But if it is at 0, 0, I can write my equation like this. All right, so let's practice. We're going to write the equation in center radius form. All right, so remember, r is the radius, but r squared goes in the formula. Okay, so this is going to be x minus negative 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 3 squared. So cleaning it up, I got x plus 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 9. And that would be my graphing form of that equation for that circle. All right, number 9, my center is at 0, 0. So I got x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 2 squared. And so cleaning that up, you get x squared plus y squared equals 4. And as you get more comfortable with this, you can go straight to the answer instead of doing the extra steps if you want to. So like number 10, this is going to be x minus 2 squared plus y squared equals 36. All right, so that's that. Now, on 11, 12, and 13, we're going to graph the circle. Okay, so on 11, my center is 1, negative 2. So the center is 1, negative 2. And my radius is the square root of 9, which is 3. All right, so I got, let's see, my center is going to be 1, negative 2. So I got 1, negative 2. So center's here. I got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so I'm going to go out 3 paces in every direction. And so that's going to be 3, 3, 3, and 3. And then you just connect your dots. Okay, so that's the idea. On 12, my center is negative 3, 4. And my radius is 6. Okay, so I got negative 3, 4. So I got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to go out 6 in every direction. So all right, so you get the idea. If you had a more exact grid, you could get more exact, but that's the idea. And then lastly, we have x squared plus y squared equals 9, so the center is at 0, 0. And then my radius is 3. So I'm going to go out 3 in every direction. Okay, so center at 0, 0, going out 3 in every direction. And then you just connect your dots. Right. So that's the idea. All right. What if we want to find the equation of a circle and then find the center and radius, but it's not in traditional form? All right, so let's do this. We have x squared. We're going to complete the square, so we're going to put the x's together. So we got x squared plus 4x. Leave space, we got plus y squared minus 8y. And then we're going to move the 44 to the other side. All right, remember, we're going to take half of b and square it. So half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4, so I got plus 4. What did we do to the one side, do to the other? Subtract 8, or divide by 8 by 2. That's going to be 4. 4 squared is 16, so you got plus 16. All right, so it's going to be x plus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 44 and 16 is 60, 4 is 64. So my center is going to be negative 2, 4. The radius is square root of 64, which is 8. All right. Now, all right, so in 15, so my coefficients for x squared and y squared need to be 1. So here's we go. I'm going to say divide everything by 2. That's going to give me x squared plus y squared plus x minus 3y equals 45 over 2. Okay, so I put my x's together and y's together. So I got x squared plus x plus y squared minus 3y equals 45 over 2. All right, half of x is 1/2. When you square 1/2, you get 1/4. All right, half of 3 is 3/2. Square it, you get 9/4. All right, so this is going to give me x plus 1/2 squared plus y minus 3/2 squared equals, you can use your calculator to help you out with that, but that's going to be 25. And so my center is going to be negative 1/2, positive 3/2, and my radius is going to be 5. Okay, last section. We want to determine whether a graph is a point or non-existent. So here's what we got. Okay, so if the right side is greater than 0, this entire thing is the equation of a circle. If the right side is equal to 0, I have a point. And if the right side is less than 0, the graph doesn't exist at all. Okay, so let's go back to 16. Once again, the x squared and y squared coefficients need to be 1, so we'll divide everything by 9. All right, so it's going to be x squared plus y squared minus 2/3 x plus 2/3 y equals 23 over 9. All right, so I got x squared minus 2/3 x plus y squared plus 2/3 y equals 23 over 9. Half of 2/3 is 2/6, which I square, and I get, or half of 2/3 is 1/3, and when I square it, I get 1/9. All right, so this is going to give me x minus 1/3 squared plus y plus 2/3, or sorry, plus 1/3 squared equals 25 over 9. All right, so my right side is greater than 0. 25 over 9 is bigger than 0. So this is a circle. So we have the center is 1/3, negative 1/3, and my radius is 5 over 3. Okay, let's do it again on 17. So we got x squared minus 6x plus y squared minus 6y equals negative 18. All right, so half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9, so I got plus 9, plus 9. All right, so this is going to give me x minus 3 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 0. All right, since my right side equals 0, this is not a circle. It's a point on the point on graph. And that point is 3, 3. So what would have been your center of the circle is now your point on the graph. All right. On 18, I got x squared minus 6x plus y squared plus 2y equals negative 12. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9, so I got plus 9, plus 9. All right, half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1, so I got plus 1, plus 1. All right, so it's going to be x minus 3 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals negative 2. This time, my right side is less than 0, which is my graph is non-existent. All right, so I know that was kind of long, but the idea is distance, midpoint, and circles. All right, that's lesson 16. Reach out if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next lesson.